What is it? We found it. It's in the Income Tax Assessment Act 1997, which is a Commonwealth Act, section 960 and decimal 5.05. If you want to know how much reading I do, that's right near the end. So it defines what this is. And if you have a look at it, it is a number of islands around Australia, so the Christmas Islands, the Cocos Islands, and Heard Island, a few other islands, but it's also the water. There's a map that the government produces to tell you exactly what this is, and it's not the land, because it says that Australia includes the continental shelf, the water above the continental shelf, the air above the continental shelf, and some of the land, the water around these islands. And this is exactly where we're saying that this is maritime law. This is coming in from the ocean. Australia doesn't start till 200 metres offshore, and it goes out for about 200 kilometres, guys. That's Australia. That's the legal definition under that act of what it is, and the government has produced a map to show you, and you can see that obviously now. So what does it mean if you're an Australian? If you have a look under the Commonwealth Citizenship Act, sorry, I can't remember the year, section 4, I think it is. 2007 Act, yeah, I think that sounds right. Yeah. Yep, so 2007 Act, section 4, and it also refers to some other sections on what an Australian is. So if you're an Australian, that means you were either born in Australia, or you have one parent who was born in Australia, or you have failed to renounce your citizenship of Australia. Now you can probably see why you need a ship, given that Australia is full of water. You need to be able to float. Nationals don't float apparently, so they've got to give you a citizenship to get around in. So with being an Australian, so unless your parents were born in the ocean 200 metres offshore or more, or you were born in the ocean 200 metres offshore or more, then you are not an Australian. You have simply volunteered to become an Australian yourself by applying for the Australian birth certificate, which gives you the citizenship. Now, there's something called being shanghaied. It's actually a legal term, and it's being put into the Navy. So basically what they do is they get you drunk, and then they put you on a ship, they sail outside the territorial waters of the country you were shanghaied in, and then you have to work on the ship because you are under the jurisdiction of the master. So when you're a baby and your parents sign you up to Australia, so you're no longer in the Commonwealth of Australia, the constitutional one, you are shanghaied as a baby, kind of, because they also leave the option of you to become a Christian name and the beneficiary, which leaves you on the land. So I guess the crazy process that we go through is that when we're Shanghai, we're taken out to sea, we're put into this company that surrounds the land of the Commonwealth of Australia, this water world, and then we are given a licence, which is a birth certificate for our citizenship, so we can come back onto the land of the Commonwealth of Australia and be licensed to be here. But if we do anything wrong, we get locked up straight away. Because that's the contractual obligations, and that's under military law. Any soldier coming onto land, any Navy, they have to be licensed to be here, and they have to work under the Rome Statute, and that also goes back to the Nuremberg trials and all that as well.
That's corpus juris, isn't it?
Corpus juris, yeah, of the water. So this is, you can start to see your citizenship in the maritime law. So we're all maritime contractors. So when you give the birth certificate back, one of the other definitions in the Citizenship Act of an Australian was someone who has not given up their citizenship. And to give it up, you have to go back to another nation, and that nation has to accept you. Unfortunately, the Commonwealth of Australia is empty, so there's no one in it to accept you. If we started in a SICE, we could take everybody back. And this is why the old Parliament House is vacant, because they're waiting for people to turn up and restart the Commonwealth. This is the administrator coming in from the water, using contract law, using trust law.
It's from a private foreign company, but isn't it?
Absolutely. This is the US Federal Reserve.
It does not derive from any part of Australia.
No, this has nothing to do with us. This
is the real Commonwealth of Australia.
No, the Commonwealth of Australia has nothing to do with this. They're completely separate companies.
Yeah, that's right.
So one of the interesting things was an Australian resident, which is something else, is actually described in the International Civil Aviation Organisation treaty we have with the UN. An Australian resident is someone who ordinarily lives in Australia. So if you normally live 200 metres offshore in the water, then your definition. And funnily enough, we do, but we've got licence or liberty to come back onto the land and be here as contractors for this Admiralty or Maritime Jurisdiction Corporation, which is a ship. And if you look at the way ships are registered, this goes back to Germanic shipping, and they registered ships with all capitals. Have a look at the name of the Titanic. And I think Australia might be going the way of the Titanic if Mum and I keep doing these videos. Any questions on that one, mate?
No, that's basically it. It's a bit of a shock to find out that Australia is the margin. It's the marginal. It's the marginal text.
Yeah,
marginal
can I take the camera and you describe marginal text for everybody?
Yeah. Well, I think I didn't really have a shave and got ready for it, but I think the marginal, the word, it's like a document. You see here, this is probably classical. This is the document. This is the main part of the document, but the administration of a document is in the margin. And here you've got the page numbers, the sections, the name of places, and it operates in a. You'll probably find it is too. It's an italic text.
So it's a different text. It's to the body of the text.
Yes, and over here we've got debased Latin. Yep. But what the margin is doing is making sure
bold numbers as well.
Bold numbers, and no matter where you go, and
everything's different. You're saying in the margin to the body.
That's right, and it's supposed to be different to make sure that the main body of the text is alien from the margin. So what's happened in Australia is you've got the Australia sort of thing. Something like that, but it goes up a bit more like that. But around Australia, you've got this green zone that comes out around the islands. It comes down here, and I think it actually comes out over to Lord Howe Island. That's the margin. This
so
area.
The marginal text is actually a physical area around Australia, is what you're saying?
Yes, what I'm saying is on the maps, whereas this is the real Australia.
Or Commonwealth of Australia.
Australia. This one here is the all uppercase Australia, and this is the real English Australia.
So this one's been vacated, and this one's administrating.
This is the administrator, just like on the page. You've got to remember that this is all got to do with. There's the real Australia, and there's the administration of the page, the administration of Australia, and it's just done in a different sort of a mapping version, but it's using the same thing. So this all uppercase text.
The model is identical.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you'll notice that in all of their maritime court documents and driver licenses, all this, they're using this all uppercase text on it, which is marginal text. So what you're saying, what they're doing is they're issuing the citizens that are actually living here, out in the water Australia.
So they're born here, they're shanghaied out to here, and then they're licensed as pirates back to here.
Well, when they turn 21, they should have the right to come back into here.
And if they don't take
if they don't come back, well, then they remain as the citizens out here, as the administrator or as the defender of Australia.
But obviously they're only out at sea in an equity sense, not literally.
Yes, in a legal sense.
Yeah.
The equity is here, and the legal sense is all out here. So once you accept these legal titles from this zone outside of Australia, which is in this zone here, what they're saying is that you are living in the margin, which is the administrative part of the page. And, I mean, if you go 200 metres offshore, if you swim out there...
you can swim to Australia.
Yes, but you won't see the line to 200 metres out. You won't see it in the actual water. This is the mapping.
It's like a border between states.
That's right. But on the paper, this is where it all exists. And what's worrying me about people like Rod Cullerton and Stephen Spears and Wayne Glue, these, as good as their research, amazing amount of research that they're doing, they're missing this one point, is that they're already citizens from out here, and they're asking this company to stand down. They can't. If you are a citizen and you hold the identifications of
asking themselves to stand down.
Yes, you can't do it. And something that Wayne Glue is fantastic as the research, and he's actually created or he's identified some real corruption in this area out here. There's no doubt about that. But he can't have the power to stand out. He doesn't have the jurisdiction or the authority, because the authority must come from these people in here. This is the national standing, that's the citizenship. And to get to be the national standing, because it's a very biblical thing and a cult system.
Well, you found something on nationalism, Australian national, didn't you? Do you want to explain what that was?
Yes, well, that was the I'll show the act.
Non-alien, non-citizen.
Yes, to be a national, you must be a non-citizen and a non-alien, which is out here. This is alien. That's a citizen. So to be a national in here, AL, you must surrender your right as a citizen and come back to here. But that means that you're also a non-alien, so you're not from out here. And once you become this, when you find this standing, and this is the things that these fantastic researchers, this is the one point that they have to look at, is we cannot direct this from within here as citizens. We must stand over here. And that's why there are two birthing certificates. That's the certificate of birth, and this one is the state birth certificate.
And if you're an alien, you're somewhere, your certificate comes from out of...
yes, well, that could come from over somewhere else. But the problem with this Australia, this green zone that's around, it's also down here around the Antarctic too. There's some stuff that's going on down here. But what this is, this Australia here, it derives from over in the D-I-S-T-R-I-C-D of... It derives from the District of Columbia. So this area is not the Australian corporation owned by these people here.
The nationals.
Australia, the nationals. This is owned by over here, which is
private, isn't it? The
private
US
foreign
Reserve.
Yeah, I mean, the system is right. It's the system's working right. This is the corporation that's formed by the government. But this country here, Australia, did not form this corporation. This corporation is a foreign corporation. I don't know what's happened. Maybe the Queen sold it out for war reparation, to pay the debts of the war to the United States. I don't know. Maybe the Queen still owns. Maybe the Queen owns the United States too. That's the thing that's got to be looked at.
There's things that we can't find, isn't there?
There's some things that there's no doubt we'll find it in the future, but that's what's happened here. And this document from their website, the government website, explains it. And I'll put that up, the print up from the government that explains exactly what a national is and what a
citizen is.
CITIZEN is. We can be citizens, but if we become a citizen of this one,
citizenship to float while you're out in the...
Yes. And it's amazing that this starts at 200 and goes out to this, and you can see there's the margin.
The margin of the Commonwealth of Australia. And it's administrating the internal...
of these guys, which is us. And we are letting these... Well, we're complaining, but we're in here. And we don't have any right to complain because we have not found our way back to this. And to get this certificate of birth is takes a lot of biblical understanding to do it. But that's the...
Well, I mean, it's all in the name, isn't it? The Bible is two.
Yes.
It's not the universe is one.
No,
the Bible is telling you that it's two. And eat from the tree of knowledge and you will surely die.
Creditor, debtor, defender. out here. And if you are a citizen, you're in the water, dead in the water.
The other thing we found that back in the day I found defendentia, which is a defendant, and that was the cargo of a ship. Now we can't relocate that due to Google being censored now.
No.
But yeah, so a defendentia is the defender of the cargo of a ship.
So that's my little bit of understanding of what our Rod Cullerton and Wayne Glue, Stephen Spears, that's one of the points that they have to understand is if we want to direct this out here, we must come back into here. We have to form the assize, which is probably around 25 people. And then once we form that, that's the high court, the highest possible court.
So what do we need to form the assize is for people not to hold the citizenship or be alien to the
they have to leave,
Australian national.
They have to leave this, and to leave this where they're all safe and protected to come back into here, that's going to be hard. I mean, you know, like I know 3 or 4 of us that are here. To get 25 people that can survive without the
So we need
benefits.
basically 25 Commonwealth of Australian nationals. To run the
Once
country.
we do that, then we can direct this here and start making this area
And this is
administrative.
why Parliament House is vacant, because we don't have 25.
Well, they've got their own government. We don't even have to change the government, and we don't even have to change the people in the Commonwealth of
So we
Australia.
can just direct the all capitals,
all the bills,
Waterborne Australia to operate.
all the bills passed in this private company to administer Australia, they normally get passed over by foreign people that suits them to plunder Australia. But if the assize is there, then no bill can go here. The bill would have to go to the assize first. And any bill that was degrading Australia or hurting the Australian people, then we, the 25 people, then have the lawful right to reject the bill from the Parliament. And that's probably the best way to get control back over our lives and to stop some of the corruption that's happening out here, coming from people from the District of Columbia, and we don't know. They could be in France, the Rothschild people, and the people from England, the Queen and her family. They are controlling, you know, Australia, and we, the people of Australia, who have been fooled into coming over here, we've lost control of it. And that's the way to get the control back. We only need 25 people. And there are these people slowly coming forth. So it is happening, but it's just the knowledge of how and the understanding of what we're finding and how the system works that we all have to start to get into our heads.
Did you want to say anything about the Ouija board while we're here?
The Ouija board is summoning the dead, and it uses the all uppercase text here. And your driver licenses, they're dead. It's a dead letter text. And so the Ouija board really is just summoning the dead. And when you're in this area here, it's a corporation, and corporations are incorporated. The real living man must die to be in here. So
that's where the man can only live basically on the land, or they have to be on a ship, don't they? And if they're on a ship, they're part of the Navy, and
it gets back to the soul and the soul print. You can't have a soul print. That's why the Vatican takes the soul when a child is born. The Vatican takes the soul print, and there is no soul print in water. It cannot happen.
No footprints.
So that's right. But you can have a soul, the other soul, which means dead. So if you've got the S-O-U-L, which is dead, but the S-O-L-E, which is the real soul, those two things must be reunited to come back together. At the moment, they've been separated, divided and conquered. So that's the weird part about the occult stuff. That's the people that we used to get laughed at. Bringing that stuff, the occult stuff up. But the whole thing rests dead, living. It's all dead letter text, living text. Even though District of Columbia, but that's a real district. That's why I wrote that as a fact. But this is not a fact. That does not read Australia. And if this Australia is that, then this in here, that's not Australia. So that's not Australia. That might read Australia, if you can even read that writing. S Australia. Wherever it goes. That's proper English. That's a fact of Australia.
Yep.
This is the what do they call it? The token. That's to enter into the game. That's the sign. The Ouija board. You've got to give a sign. Well, that's the sign that you've entered into the dead. This is probably the sign that we're still alive.
Yeah.
But that's proper English, and the grammatical rules of English do not apply to this text.
So we could apply this to glossa viperina esque corrode placera textus, which is a poisonous gloss that corrupts the essence of the text. And there's
That's the
poisonous
corruption.
gloss is the one you can't read. It's pretty simple.
And
maxim, guys, that one.
And that maxim, because we haven't understood it, is putting the control of Australia, which is the margin of Australia, around Australia, surrounded a bit like the US flag and the Australian flag with the gold fringe, which is maritime capture. So this has been captured, but this area here, because we haven't understood this, we've assumed that this is Australia when it is foreign from a different district. So there's that's what's happened. That's what's gone wrong into Australia, and that's a bit of a bother for us. I think.
Yep, it certainly is, mate. We'll leave that one there.
Yeah.